The second way of experiencing that a little bit more is something that he calls ultimate morality. That is compassion. We all know about compassion. We know what compassion means. In compassion, you forget about yourself, so that innate individuality, selfishness in everybody, which is normal because it's the part of that will, which is the essence of all of us, you forget about that and you fill with others. You fill with people who are suffering. So you alleviate their suffering by filling with them. He says this is extremely powerful because in that you're becoming one with them. So there is no more I and them, as is in everyday's world all the time. And this is where all the conflicts come out from. All of a sudden we're all one. And that compassion is extremely important for Schopenhauer. And he says, it reminds us that which is after all the most necessary thing of life, the tolerance, patience, regard, and love of neighbor, of which everyone stands in need, and which therefore every man owes to his fellow. This is what he says about compassion. And he adds, egoism and the moral world and an action absolutely of an action, egoism and the moral world of an action absolutely exclude each other. Egoism is incompatible with compassion. It cannot be the force that will drive you to compassion. For Schopenhauer, only those non-egoistic actions can have moral worth. Therefore, compassion has to oppose the egoistic forces, and hence, the absence of all egoistic motivations is therefore the criterion of an action of moral worth. So remember this, because I have a very strong opinion about this. So I'm going to jump over that and leave it for discussion. But now there is the third one, the third way of eliminating suffering. Schopenhauer is aware that in compassion, you don't alleviate suffering. Compassionate man feels with the sufferer, but he is aware that suffering is still there. So you can be as much compassionate as you want, but you are not going to eliminate suffering. So how do we eliminate suffering? Is it possible? Because that would be the ultimate target. And Schopenhauer says, yes, we can do that. And the way to do it is actually asceticism. So ascetic realizes that compassion doesn't eliminate suffering. What he starts doing is he starts eliminating and repudiating the main drive, which is the sexual drive. So he stops enjoying sexual pleasures. And then he starts doing that with other drives, like possession of wealth, even eating. Right? But you may ask, okay, if that's the way, then why suicide wouldn't be a shortcut to eliminating suffering? You just do it and that's it, gone. Well, Schopenhauer said this is not eliminating suffering. This is will talking again. Because you are unhappy with your life and you want more, you're going to kill yourself. Not because you're trying to repudiate suffering, but because you just want more than you have. Again, it's greed. Greed for life. Will to live is the most problematic issue in that story of suicide. So it's not working for Schopenhauer. On ascetic, he says the following. On the other hand, that knowledge of the whole, of the inner nature of the thing in itself, which has been described, becomes the quieter of all and every willing. The will now turns away from life. It shudders at the pleasure in which it recognizes the affirmation of life. Man attains to the state of voluntary renunciation, resignation, true composure, and complete willlessness. So this is what ascetic does. And he says, further, from this we can infer how blessed must be the life of a man whose will is silenced, not for few moments, as in the enjoyment of beautiful, but forever. Indeed, completely extinguished. Again, I have very strong opinion on this, but I'll keep it for later. So with this, I will finish my short lecture. I hope it was short. It couldn't be shorter than this, because whoever was reading Schopenhauer knows how small are his books. None of them is smaller than 700-800 pages. So I hope I presented you with some fundamental ideas of Schopenhauer. If I can recap just to remind you, suffering is the main issue. There are three ways of repudiating suffering: artistic experience, aesthetic pleasure or catharsis. Second one is compassion, and third one is asceticism. Yeah. This is all from me now.